What's up, ballers? Jacob here with AllDriveNoDrop, talking about the Vatic Saga 14mm series. They got 5 paddles in this series. That's a lot. Are these the best 14mm on the market? Are these better than the 16mm? I'm here to tell you the answer to that. And let's get into it, because there's a lot to talk about these, and I will throw up the stats and everything on the screen for these paddles as I'm talking about them, because, you know, 5's a lot to cover, so we'll kind of like bunch them together, just talk about them all, you know, like together as a series and which one is the best, because every time there's a series, I already know what I'm going to get asked. Jacob, which one is the best of the series? And you know what? Go ahead and smash that subscribe if you want to know right now. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm going to tell you anyway, but it would help the channel grow. But let me tell you, I'm just going to get it out of the way. The Vatic Saga Bloom 14mm is the best of the series, which I wasn't expecting, because the 16mm Bloom was not my favorite. It was probably my least favorite of the sagas. So the 14mm being my favorite was actually a big surprise to me. And I can pinpoint exactly why. So for the 16mm, it just didn't have as much power as its counterparts, which of course you're expecting. The wide body is going to be the least powerful of the series usually. It just was the power drop off from the Saga Flash and the V7. 16mm was bigger than I was expecting. The power drop off from the Flash and the V7 to the Bloom 14mm is not that much. And for some of the games, I felt like the Bloom was the most powerful. And I'll tell you why. The sweet spot on the Bloom is obviously the biggest of the series, and for this series I think it makes an even bigger difference, because something like the V7 long handle, I was having trouble with the sweet spot. And I know this isn't like my normal review style, but stick with me. We're just getting into the raw thoughts here and the first impressions of all this stuff, because I really enjoyed some of this series. So the V7, we'll go talk about it. V7 long handle. If you are really good about hitting your sweet spot, then that's gonna be it, right? But if you're not, and you're kind of going down, even down here, the ball was just dying a little bit more. So the sweet spots are a little smaller on these elongated, the V7 long handle, the V7 short handle. They just weren't for me, because I was having trouble with the sweet spot, and I tried different weights and I tried different stuff. It just wasn't working for me. So for me, I didn't like the 14mm as much as the 16mm Saga. So that's that. Weight setup, I had like a 3 gram pre-cut strip, and then I was trying some different things. I would go from the handle up to about maybe the G with a 0.5 gram per inch strip if I was going to do it. Okay, now let's talk about the Bloom. We're skipping the Flash, which I do like too. We're going to the Bloom. Okay, so let's talk about the Bloom. First, my weight setup on this. I put a 5-inch strip of 1 gram per inch tungsten tape, and I use the Bodhi tungsten tape. Check that out in the description if you're looking for some. I use that on the top here, because for me, on the wide bodies, I always, you know, my sweet spot, as you can see, these Vatics collect a lot of dust. I start going towards the top, so I want the most help towards the top, and then I want a little bit more power, and I want to get the swing weight up a little bit more, because I like to keep my paddles all consistent. I try to get them around that 120 mark, just because I want, you know, the same kind of feel in my hands. And for this, you could do the 8 inches of 0.5 gram per inch strip from the bottom corner to the top corner. I do that a lot on my wide bodies. But for this, I really wanted to add it to the top. So for these, with the construction they have, it's like, you know, it doesn't give us the full details, but they're using some kind of different core. And then they've got a little bit of foam around the perimeter, and then kind of a slight thermal around it, but not baked as long as most thermoform paddles. And this leads to a slightly smaller sweet spot than some of those fully baked thermoform paddles. On the Bloom 14mm, it's not as recognizable as a smaller sweet spot as on the V7 long handle and on the Flash. And really, it kind of goes down the list right there. You know, the smaller the paddle face, the more noticeable that reduced sweet spot is. And for this, really just a little bit towards the top, which that tungsten tape just takes care of. When you get that, these have the pop to compete with power paddles. It's not as poppy as the Scorpius, the Pro 414 Scorpius, or the Annalee Waters Bantam, but it is not far away, and it has a less stiff feel. These are on the stiffer side compared to the 16s, but this Bloom one specifically is not too stiff. It has that springier feel. It has a really good feel for me. And then the power, especially once you get that tape on there, but even without the tape, just the consistency that you get with the sweet spot in the power of this paddle, this, for me, is a power wide body. So I really, really enjoyed it. And then the spin you get, Vatic is always at the top of the spin game. I don't know where they're getting their grit. Are they paying some bribes? I'm just kidding. Well, don't come after me. I'm just kidding. But really, their grit is always really gritty, and it's awesome. Like, they're always getting a ton of spin. And yeah, really like the Bloom and how it plays for a power wide body, and I was able to have still great control as far as a power paddle goes. Like, pretty good control in terms of a power paddle on drops and resets and dinks. Now, of course, it's not a control paddle. Don't twist my words. Anyway, let's talk about the Flash now. So the Flash, which if you are a big fan of the channel, you're like, Jacob, it's a hybrid. Shouldn't that be your favorite? Well, I don't just go in assuming that, but yes, I would think so, but it wasn't. I do like it. I'm not sure if I like the 14 or 16 millimeter Saga Flash better, but so we have an 8-inch strip of tungsten tape, the 0.5 gram per inch, going from the handle all the way up here, just past the S on the Saga on each side. I like this setup. I was, messing around, seeing what I like. I do like this tungsten tape setup. Sweet spot, a little bit smaller than average for a 14 millimeter, talking about that construction again. So I like it. I liked it. This was my second favorite of the series. The Vatic Saga Flash 14 millimeter short handle was my second favorite of the series. If I had to rank them all, it would go Bloom, Flash, V7 short handle, Flash long handle, V7 long handle. That's my ranking, and that is the definitive ranking for the AllDriveNoDrop Pickleball channel. Thank you for that. So those are my, first impressions of the series, or the long handles of the Flash and the V7 were not my favorite. They do pack a punch when they do hit the sweet spot. So if you are really good at it and that's not a problem for you, then yes, go ahead. They are excellent if you can consistently hit the smaller sweet spot. So let's just jump into the conclusion and wrap this up. Do I recommend the 14 millimeter Saga series? Well, personally, I think the best of the series is the Bloom. I think if you were underwhelmed with the 16 millimeter Saga Bloom, then the 14 millimeter Saga Bloom will knock your socks off. I'm just gonna say that. And then the Flash short handle is very good, and the V7 short handle is also another good one. I personally don't like the long handle versions of the Flash and the V7 elongated, but you know what? Maybe you will. But at this price, $129.99 going down to $119.99 with the code AllDriveNoDrop, you can get two different ones for the same price as a Yola. That's excellent, excellent value here. I really do like that they put on different designs. You can't see it too well, but they do have an etched samurai. So they do on the 16 millimeters, it's orange. On this one, the samurai is etched in. It does look cool. I would, other people like the orange one better, but the etched, it's sleek, but I would personally like it if they did like 14 millimeter was like a purple samurai, or maybe like, I don't know, a green samurai, do a different color. I love how they do their different designs, so props to them for keeping it fresh and interesting. So I do recommend some of the paddles from this series. I don't like the long handles, but if you are looking for that super long handle, then there it is. Great prices. Vatic is known for great prices, so great job there. That's all I have. If you've enjoyed the video, give me a like on there and subscribe to the channel. Helps me keep growing. Of course, feel free to leave any comments or questions. Thank you so much. Have a great day.